Right now on KGW News, a brazen thief steals a car with a dog still inside.
Yeah, he's your mama's girl. I know.
The community effort that helped track her down.
She just is the absolute love of my family's life.
Plus, police crack down on the new downtown hotspot for drug use.
You're watching drugs everywhere, and it's exhausting.
But first, with Portland's camping ban tied up in court, leaders try another tactic.
It's really unclear how and when exactly they're going to be enforcing these rules.
Why some advocates tonight say they're wary of the new proposal. Thanks for joining us at 11. I'm David Mulco. Those new camping restrictions were unveiled today by Portland's mayor, and the proposed ordinance allows for fines and jail time if campers refuse available shelter space. Alma McCarty is in the newsroom with a closer look at these changes. Alma?
Well, David, we spoke to Mayor Ted Wheeler this afternoon about his proposal. He called the ordinance a sliver of a much larger strategy to address homelessness and said the law enforcement component is a last-ditch effort for those who do not want help.
Thursday, Mayor Ted Wheeler introduced his latest effort to crack down on homeless camping in Portland.
The public wants us to create a humane approach that connects people to services, but they also want us, and they have a right to expect, that we will maintain public safety in the public right-of-way. And this set of tools allows us to do that.
Those tools spelled out in a newly proposed ordinance, one that would replace last year's daytime camping ban, which remains on hold, tied up in the courts.
We're very confident that this particular ordinance that we're bringing forward on the 18th will survive legal scrutiny.
The new proposal defines camping and where it's prohibited, blocking sidewalks, ADA ramps, and businesses. And it puts law enforcement back in the picture with possible fines and jail time.
For people who say, hey, you've offered me shelter, but I'm not going to take it, or I'm just going to dig in right here and I'm not going to abide by reasonable manner restrictions, we then also have those law enforcement tools to enforce the law if we need to.
When compared with last year's controversial ban, which prohibited camping on city property between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. and round the clock in many other locations, Lauren Armony with Sisters of the Road views it this way.
I think we traded something that was very harsh and slightly more precise for something that's more vague, which means perhaps it could be viewed as softer, but that means it could also be open to being weaponized. And it can be like in the eyes of whoever the individual officer is.
The enforcement of the ordinance is contingent upon having shelter space open and available. But that raises concerns about what's considered a reasonable alternative shelter.
We know firsthand that there might be only 2 beds open at a shelter at any given time, and everyone in an encampment is given the same offer for those 2 beds. If you don't accept that offer because you know at least 5 other people are going to try for that bed, is it actually a reasonable offer? And how can you say someone is involuntarily homeless when the shelter itself will not meet their needs?
The ordinance would also make it unlawful to access private property, start fires, and build up garbage and debris, among other things. City Council will consider the proposal for the first time 2 weeks from today. David?
Thank you, Wilma. We'll definitely keep an eye on this one. I appreciate it. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines, we now know what led up to a shooting at a Salem park overnight, which left 1 man dead and another injured. Salem police say they believe it started between 2 homeless men in Wallace Marine Park arguing over property. 29-year-old Charlie Allen Hodges was shot and killed. A 25-year-old man was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. No arrests have been made. Portland police are investigating 2 overnight stabbings that left 3 people hurt. The first was before 10 at the corner of Southeast Grand and Washington. Whoever did it took off before officers arrived. The man who was stabbed, is expected to survive. Then, just after midnight, a man and a pregnant woman were stabbed in an apartment on Southeast 122nd in the Mill Park neighborhood. Police say they found the suspect standing over one of the victims holding a knife. He is accused of charging and assaulting an officer. Police were able to get him under control and arrest him. Both victims in that case are also expected to survive. And Portland police have arrested a suspect in connection with a deadly January shooting in the Hillsdale neighborhood. 19-year-old Fernando Gutierrez Medina was arrested on a first-degree manslaughter charge. The shooting happened overnight on January 13th at a parking lot in the Hillsdale Shopping Center. Officers found Joshua Page shot inside a car. He later died from his injuries. We have new information tonight about the new hotspot for downtown drug use we reported on earlier this week, with Portland police now starting to crack down. Thomas Schultz has that update.
For months, it's been a stark sight around Portland's Central Library. People sprawled across benches, tarps right beside them, and drugs rampant.
You're watching drugs everywhere, and it's exhausting.
Amber Job is the owner of the Skeleton Key Auditorium up the street from the library. She says for months, an influx of people have gathered around the library where many smoke fentanyl.
Since the December, all of the businesses on the block have essentially had at least one window broken.
Oh yeah, that's number 8. 8th piece of wood.
And a block away, Christine Burmeister runs the Taylor Street Kitchen, which always serves a big lunch crowd, though this year has been hard for her restaurant too.
Portland doesn't have a plan what to do with folks, so we just keep shuffling them around, and this is where they've landed.
Though now police are cracking down. Tuesday, 36 drug citations were given out around the library. 17 people were arrested, many for outstanding warrants, and a couple for drug distributions. And in an email, county officials acknowledge blocks near the library are impacted by fentanyl, though they're working with police and library staff to reduce fentanyl use and improve safety. And some living on the street agree there's problems on this block.
It's gotten worse.
In what ways?
Just like the drug use. And
Justin Horst is homeless and has lived near the library for a year. He uses fentanyl and was here before Tuesday's arrest, though he and other homeless Portlanders say arrests aren't the answer. Treatment and shelter are.
Where you can go in and get a cup of soup, something to drink, something to eat.
And business owners agree treatment is needed, but say enforcement is too.
I love Portland, but right now it's difficult.
Thomas Schultz, KGW News.
In Idaho, authorities in Coeur d'Alene now say they have audio and video evidence of a racist attack on the Utah women's basketball team. The team had just arrived to play in the NCAA tournament in Spokane last month and were walking from their hotel to a restaurant in Coeur d'Alene when some people driving by shouted racial slurs. The team says it happened again after they left the restaurant. Authorities looked through more than 35 hours of video from local businesses to establish a timeline, and yes, they found a racial slur was used more than once. They are now looking for the people involved. We have an update this evening in the door plug blowout over Portland. Boeing has now paid Alaska Airlines $160 million in what the airline is calling initial compensation. The aircraft involved here, of course, a Boeing 737 MAX 9. The FAA grounded the MAX 9 fleet while airlines inspected their planes. The Boeing payment is meant to cover Alaska's revenue losses during that time. The airline says it expects further compensation from Boeing. Boeing declining to comment here. Federal investigators have already found the bolts on this MAX 9 meant to hold the door plug in place appeared to be missing. In international headlines, search and rescue teams in Taiwan are going into their third day after the island was hit by the strongest earthquake in a quarter of a century. At least 10 people are confirmed dead, with more than 1,000 hurt. Powerful aftershocks are also creating challenges for crews as they search for survivors. One of the most challenging rescues includes hundreds of people cut off at a national park in eastern Taiwan because of road damage. At least 200 people are also living in temporary shelters because of worries aftershocks could cause serious damage to their homes. Well, let us talk Decision 2024 with a growing coalition launching a campaign called Uncommitted Oregon. Now, similar to what we've seen in places like Michigan, supporters plan to write uncommitted on the May primary ballot, the Democratic side, as a message to President Biden that he should support an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Today, by the way, the president told Israel's prime minister in what appeared to be his hardest line yet with Benjamin Netanyahu that future U.S. support will depend on Israel taking new steps to protect civilians and aid workers. The White House says so far Israel has committed to reopening a crossing into northern Gaza to allow assistance in. Straight ahead at 11, a thief steals a car in Oregon City with a family's dog still inside. The twist involving another pup that led to a happy reunion. Plus, we regret to inform you that your new airport terminal has been delayed when PDX is now planning the great unveiling. Ashley?
Well, a pretty overcast day. We saw some scattered showers, and it was difficult for us to even reach 50 degrees here. 49 degrees the high in Portland and Vancouver. Relatively chilly on the coast. Right in the 50s, though, most of us got a very beautiful sunset. These weather conditions are going to stick with us all the way through the weekend. Overcast and rainy. We'll talk about that and your 7-day forecast coming up.